Hello everybody and welcome to another video where today I'm going to be doing something a little different. Usually you're used to my MLB The Show clips, but I just wanted to do a little breakdown of the wildcard round that happened as of last week for the NFL playoffs. If you saw my most recent video about a week ago, and yeah, I'm going to talk about all 6 games, my opinions, breakdown, and all of that. Alright, first game I want to talk about is between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Cincinnati Bengals. Both teams haven't won a playoff game in about 20 years for the Raiders and 31 years for the Bengals. It's great. It's a great matchup of two teams that just don't know how to win in the playoffs, don't know how to make it there, and this is a game where one of them breaks that streak. And yet both of them are still not as bad as the Detroit Lions. Sorry, Detroit, but it's the Lions. Anyways, this game started off great for Cincinnati. Had to lead the entire game actually, except for a 3-0 lead for the Raiders. It was just a back and forth of field goals really. The Bengals led by most at 14 at a point and were usually leading around 10 points the entire game and ended up leading about 26-19 with about 3 minutes left in the game. The Raiders were down 10 as I mentioned earlier, and they needed a field goal, and so they got it in the final few minutes of the fourth quarter to make it that score 26-19. The Bengals then held the Raiders on their final drive of the game with about 10 seconds to go. The Raiders on 4th and goal get picked off, and of course Derek Carr, for him, he gets picked off in the end zone, which is unfortunate. The Bengals end up winning, the Raiders end up losing. That was a pretty bad explanation of it. In the game, there was a controversial call in which the Bengals, Joe Burrow, threw the ball while he was barely going out of bounds. He didn't touch out of bounds, he was instead in bounds, and he threw it, and the referee instead thought that he was out of bounds, and so he called the play dead with a whistle, and they ended up calling it a touchdown, in which the rule book, it's meant you have to replay the down, but they don't care. They call it a touchdown, and coincidentally, the Bengals win by 7. So, this game could have gone the Raiders' way if it was tied 19-19 and the Raiders had the ball, which it could have been a tie going to overtime, or the Raiders could have won the game, which is pretty insane. But either way, the Bengals win. Next thing I want to talk about is between the New England Patriots and Buffalo Bills. Talk about domination. This game was a domination on all fronts for Buffalo. They scored early. New England couldn't capitalize on their drives. The Bills just kept scoring, literally kept scoring on all their drives, scoring 7 touchdowns on 7 of their 8 drives. If you're wondering what that 8th drive was, it was a kneel to end the game. So that doesn't count as an actual drive. They're the only team in NFL history to score that amount of touchdowns, or actually score any touchdowns, have no turnovers, no punts, no field goals, all touchdowns, which is insane to see that in a playoff game against your division rival. The score is a lot closer than it seems. It should be like 49-0, but 2 missed extra points from the Bills and some garbage time touchdowns for the Patriots led to the score 47-17. The Bills move on. Next game I want to talk about is between the Philadelphia Eagles and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First game of the Sunday slate of games, and was a blowout as well. So far there has been one close game, which could have been a blowout, and 2 blowouts, including this game and the Bills game, where the Buccaneers scored 31 unanswered points to start the game throughout the first 3 quarters, and then the Eagles decided, hey, we're actually playing in this game, and scored 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to make it 31-15, which is just like, we just gonna give them points because we need to. Yeah, this game wasn't fun if you're an Eagles fan. The Bucs easily crushed them. The Eagles are the 7th seed and honestly didn't really deserve to make the playoffs. They beat easy teams, and it showed that as soon as they played a hard team, they sucked. And the Bucs beat the Eagles for the 2nd time this season, and the Bucs are the 2nd seed, so now they host the divisional game. 4th game I want to talk about is between the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers in Dallas. This game was one of the more controversial ones of this week, as the Dallas Cowboys ended up losing to San Francisco in Arlington, Texas. Hell yeah, brother. And in this game, the Niners ended up winning by 6 points after the Cowboys self-imploded. That's not a shocker. And they ended up winning by 6 points, as I mentioned. And the Cowboys had a bunch of penalties, and they blew it on the final drive. This game was not a good start for them, as they were down 13-0 early. They scored a touchdown to make it 13-7. And then Deebo Samuel was like, hey, I'm on this team too. And a field goal and a touchdown made this a 23-7 game midway through the third quarter. The Cowboys were like, oh, we're actually pretty good. And on their next drive, got a field goal to make it 23-10. And then almost a pick six by Jimmy Garoppolo, which instead was just a pick return of like 20 yards, ended up in a Dak Prescott rushing touchdown to make the game 23-17, which is now, oh, it's a game. And instead, both teams decided to punt on both their drives as both of them stalled out. And on the second to last drive for Dallas, they stalled out at the midfield mark where San Francisco got the ball back after a fourth down stop. And then they barely missed by going for it on a third down, getting basically an inch short, and then on fourth down getting a false start, which put them back 5 yards on a fourth and just sneak, and instead made them punt and give the ball back to Dallas. And Dallas at this point had no timeouts, about 40 seconds left on the clock. They would run a hook and ladder, a screen, another short play to get down to midfield, and then Dak Prescott would decide to run the ball with 14 seconds left on the clock, which has never been done in a game that was in the playoffs, down a touchdown and under 14 seconds on the clock. Don't know why he did it, but it was something that needed yards quick, and he ended up kneeling, decided not to give the ball to the ref, which you have to do before every play, and then they couldn't get the ball off as the ref needed to touch the ball, run downfield, and then they lost the game. So a bunch of self-implosion by Dallas, ended up losing to the 6th seed, and another lost season for the Cowboys. Next game I want to talk about is the final AFC game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to talk about really quickly on this one because it doesn't deserve that much talking. Big Ben's final game as they got killed 42-21. The game started off interesting for the Steelers as they got a turnover and made it 7-0 after a bunch of stalled up drives from both teams. Then Kansas City decided to actually show up, scoring 35 unanswered points. Then the Steelers scored a touchdown, then Kansas City scored a touchdown, and then the Steelers scored another touchdown to end up with the score 42-21. It was just a blowout for the Chiefs, really. It wasn't close, and for them, they easily move on. They're the 2nd seed, so they will be playing the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round in Arrowhead, and the Titans will be playing the Bengals. So all the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds make it in the AFC. Kansas City moves on. Steelers, Big Ben is going to retire, probably. I think he does. I think he should. And finally, the final game I'm going to be talking about is between the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams, the first Monday Night Football playoff game, and it disappointed as the Arizona Cardinals came into LA and said, we don't know what we're doing. The Rams easily feasted on them. They couldn't score any points until late in the third quarter, and the Rams were just putting drives and they were putting up points. OBJ was a better passer than Kyler Murray this game. Think about that. So, which is the better quarterback? I would choose OBJ personally. They ended up losing easily. The Rams sort of shut off the engines in the fourth quarter and let the Cardinals score 11 points, including a touchdown, 2-point conversion, and then a field goal. And the Rams scored another 6 points to end with the score 34-11. Kyler Murray's probably going to be back in the playoffs. It's sort of funny that this is the second year where we had a terrible collapse. The Steelers last year were 11-0, and they collapsed by losing in the wild card. And this team for the Cardinals went 7-0, was one of the best teams in football, and then collapsed in the final 5 weeks of the season and ended up losing in the wild card. So, maybe things do repeat every year. But, yeah, LA moves on, and they will be playing Tampa Bay in the divisional round in Tampa, and the Packers will be playing the 49ers in Lambeau Field, in cold Lambeau. That's going to be a fun game because Green Bay's probably going to win because it's San Francisco. Yes, they beat the Cowboys, but it's the Cowboys, come on. And then it's in Lambeau Field where Aaron Rodgers basically lives. So, yeah, I just wanted to give a quick breakdown on all the games. Really hope this divisional round doesn't have as many blowouts as the wildcard round did. Maybe they're going to get into playoff football and it's going to be a lot more intense, which will be great. Either way, I'm watching it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a bunch of storylines, a bunch of matchups. Those 4 games are going to be really, really fun. And then next week is the conference championships for both the AFC and NFC. And that's going to be even more fun. But yeah, that's all for next week. Really hope you enjoyed this video. tried to make it a little bit short, just a quick breakdown of all of them. And yeah, again, I wanted to quickly say thank you all for 200 subscribers, which is like, oh, you only have 200, but to me that's just insane. I've been really blowing up with this MLB content recently, and it's something that has been really surprising for me, as I never expected it. I reached over 100,000 views on my channel, which is just insane to think about. Like seeing 100,000 different people lined up. That's like really long. I can't really make an estimate. Yeah, again, really appreciate it. If you like this content or you want to see anything else, just comment down below what you want to see, and I'll look at it and I'll consider it and I'll probably do it. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, that's about it. See ya.